It has been a dramatic first 8 months for Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, the city and the people of Nairobi as well. The city boss has been on the spot of a poor service delivery, with his management being questioned over the poor state of roads, wanting drainage systems and heaps of garbage that keep piling up. That drama has arguably reached a climax over the past few days, with Sonko blaming his woes on what he calls cartels and detractors, chief among them Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho, whom he accuses of undermining his leadership. He has also, in a shock move, nominated lawyer and self-proclaimed NRM General Miguna, his deputy governor, a man the government insists is a Canadian citizen. In the meantime, he claims his life is in danger after the downsizing of his security detail. In the midst of all this is the resident of Nairobi who hopes for better service delivery. What is the way forward then for Nairobi County? We speak to Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, live from Mombasa, joining us tonight. Political analyst Ahmad Manyora is in studio, and public policy analyst Dr. Alex Awiti is also in studio. I'll take a look at your feedback shortly, but first I'll begin with the latest. Sonko now says his life is in danger and accuses the Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho of undermining his leadership. I'll start with you, Johnson Sakaja. I mean, you're not the one who said these words that Karanja Kibicho is undermining Sonko's leadership, but you are in the Nairobi leadership, and maybe with your engagement with Sonko and the Nairobi County, do you know of any party or person or individual or even the state, as he says, undermining Sonko?
Thanks, Hussein. First of all, I must say that one of the biggest issues that are facing the people of Nairobi is security. And because of that, you know, number one, anybody who says he feels a threat to his life must be taken seriously. And if he feels threatened, it must be taken seriously. But we need the two of them to be able to work together so that we can sort out insecurity in Nairobi. Let us not think about the individuals. Let's think about the issues that we need to deal with. One of them is security. Number two, I'm not aware of anywhere where Nairobi leadership is undermined. If there is, that's why we all work together as a team. We need to know. I am also the Vice Chair of Security in the Senate. And if there's any issue between the two, it should be brought to us so that we can deal with it very, as objectively as possible. But at the end of the day, Nairobians want services and Nairobi wants to feel safe. You need to have a good working relationship between the national government, the Ministry of Interior, the police, and the governor of Nairobi, and the county government of Nairobi.
Has he reached out to you specifically as a senator?
No.
No, he hasn't. Okay, Haman, what do you make of this?
Well, you know, there is so much dust, and the dust is about politics. So in the midst of all that, it's very difficult to distinguish between what is what is going on, what is facts, what is fiction, and all manner of things. So for now, really you can't tell what song is up. It could be true, his life is in danger. Again, we have had people saying their lives were in danger just to attract attention, maybe to forestall certain things that could come their way. So I think it's too early for you to say anything with certainty, yeah.
Alex?
I think this is the chickens coming home to roost. Sonko, in my view, is perhaps one of the least qualified people to ever occupy significant public office. And I think what he's involved now is a battery of sideshows, the ton of excuses for somebody who has executive authority for a county. By now we should have seen what his plan is with regard to delivering some of the most critical public service constraints and meeting some of the promises that he made. So I guess what is really happening is we are quickly understanding that cheap slogans and populist politics cannot deliver the job as significant as the county of Nairobi. And I think this is what the confusion was in the run-up to the elections last year, where he said he would definitely bring back his Sonko rescue team to basically sort out all the county issues. He made things look very simple. And I remember meeting Mr. Agadi at a forum, and I told him that you guys are making too many promises that you'll not be able to deliver. You need to first think and come up with a few concrete plans that you can deliver, even if it is creating sidewalks, even if it is beginning with garbage collection, making those regular, bringing back that under public service that is delivered to the people of Nairobi by the county government, removing all these guys who are basically in the private service of collecting garbage but dumping them in the wrong places. So I think Sonko just has his priorities wrong, and then now is coming against a headwind of the Jubilee government that basically has all kinds of interests in this office, and I think his situation has been exacerbated since the departure of Mr. Igade, and I think that is a critical contribution to the kind of trouble that Sonko is in at the moment.
And now he's proposing Miguna as his deputy governor. I'll come to that shortly. But first, you're all talking about service delivery. Sakaja is also talking about service delivery being key here, and I hope you'll listen to this. Sakaja, Sonko has been faulted for poor service delivery, especially of garbage collection, roads and drainage in the city. Let's take a look at what he's been saying. This has been interesting, the different reasons he has given over the last few days as to why it has been a problem, that is drainage, roads, and also garbage collection. Let's listen in.
Najua shida ya drainage Nairobi iko. Shida ya barabara Nairobi iko. Na munaona ile weather iko sasa. Hatuwezi jenga barabara juu ya sewage. Hatuwezi jenga barabara bila kufix drainage yetu ya Nairobi. Unless tunataka kupoteza pesa ya umma. Mabilioni ya kujenga barabara, mabilioni ya kumaliza shida ya drainage, hiyo mwezi wekelea Sonko. Wekeleeni wale walichukua uongozi wa Nairobi miaka 5 iliyopita from 2013. This is a very big force fighting one person who has been anointed by God. Somebody who has been elected by the great people of Nairobi to deliver service. Now they're just doing diversionary tactics, character assassination, and at the same time they are calling for disbursement of Nairobi County. How? Within 5 months. Why do you want me to go home within 5 months? Why don't you give me time? Why don't you come and help me? You one person fighting me in government. Come! Just give me 1 year and see. And let me defend myself, even right now, as I'm being fought. There is something which is happening on the ground.
So is it a combination of all these problems, or is it shifting goalposts? I'll start with you, Alex.
I think what is interesting is that Sonko is really out of his depth, but he's also not in sync with what's going on in the city with respect to government functions. Mr. Kenyatta has recently created the Regeneration Committee, and that now has the responsibility to fix roads, start thinking about housing, and also think about sanitation. So what we're seeing is the whittling down of the functions of the county with respect to delivering critical services. And I think this is about time. This city is so complex and yet also so significant to our economy. It generates about 50% of our GDP.
Right.
And I think the structure of county government and its incapability just basically makes life here extremely difficult.
You brought that up. I'll come to the other question that I asked earlier shortly, but you brought the issue of the Nairobi Regeneration Team. It's of course comprised of cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries, and county officials with a pledge to resign actually if they don't deliver. Some of the deliverables are, for example, clearing of garbage within 30 days, the cleanup of Nairobi River within 30 days. They're also saying they will have signed agreements for funding of 100,000 affordable houses within 90 days. They'll also equip health centers and set up traffic management committee. Some of these functions clearly are county government functions. So is it interfering with what Sonko is doing? Is it micromanaging Sonko? What is really happening here? Or should it be just taken the way President Kenyatta said, that they are just collaborating and it should be a noble thing?
You remember there was a very highly publicized meeting between Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Sonko. And what I realized at that meeting was the imbalance in terms of capability and levels of staffing. Mr. Kenyatta's side, of course, the government has more resources, therefore had more individuals. Mr. Sonko's side, led by him and Mr. Igade, was crippled and basically almost a skeleton group of people. I think what is emerging is that Nairobi is so complex and yet so vital to the economy. It's almost like the economic nerve center of this country. It is a first impression. If you say destination Kenya as a tourist, as a tourist attraction, the first place that you see is Nairobi, but this is shanty town for all intents and purposes. It's squalid in nature, and I think what Kenyatta is saying is, yes, it is collaboration and cooperation. And Sonko in the clip we just played basically say, "Come and help me." Now the help is coming. He's crying wolf.
Amen.
Hussein, Nairobi is complex, like he says, no doubt about it. given the population of Nairobi, it is no longer the kind of city you can run kienyeji without plans, without planning, without clear policies.
As the county government?
Both at national, there are certain things you cannot do as a county government. So both at the national level and at the county level, you need serious policy, you need serious planning. You cannot continue running Nairobi like it's a village. Having said that, I must also add this. I'm saying, even if somebody made you the governor of Nairobi, previously there were mayors, without the goodwill from the top, you do precious little, Hussein Mohammed. It is that difficult. It is that difficult. Because the kind of things you are talking about doing, there are so many interested people, so many cartels, and their power goes so much high up there.
Which he says has been fighting.
Let me just break it down for you. You talk about traffic. To manage traffic in Nairobi, you need to get rid of the border, organize them to do other things to get an income. You need to get rid of the 14-seater matatus. There are so many things you do. Housing, you need to deal with land, you need to deal with the renewal of leases. All those things, as a governor, you completely have no power. Now,
but you campaign,
let me just finish.
He campaigned on the platform of delivering all
Now, I was coming there, and that's where his problem could be. Perhaps he was naive enough to think that you can change Nairobi. The interests in Nairobi are such that, honestly, unless powerful men up there hold your hand until you go on, you will not manage.
Okay.
It's very difficult.
Sakaja, do you believe that? As a senator, for example, do you need to work with people in the national government in terms of legislation that could be important for Nairobi County? And what do you think about the regeneration team, for those who say or think that it could be interfering with the independence of the county government and Mike Sonko?
Let me say this, Hussein. Number one, the Constitution itself provides a framework through which both levels of government can cooperate. Article 189, Article 190. Nairobi is too important just to be left alone, because if Nairobi is not working, it means that Kenya is not working. And so the plan for regeneration and cooperation with the national government is welcome. It is not an indictment. It does not mean that Sonko is not able to do his work. But it means that there's a realization that Nairobi is so important that you actually need that cooperation. There are certain things that the governor needs to do, and the Nairobi County government. Number one is actualizing the Urban Areas and Cities Act, step down devolution one level down, so that you can even get 4 city managers divided into 4. You have Nairobi North, Nairobi South, Nairobi East, Nairobi West, and give responsibilities to specific people, such that if I find garbage in Kayole at Spine Road, I know who is in charge, and he gets out of a job. If I find garbage in Westlands, in Langata, there's somebody responsible. One person at the top of Nairobi cannot sort out all those issues at the same time. And that's what I'm saying. We need to support Governor Sonko, and he needs to focus on his job. We want to support him to actually deliver. We're available. The national government is available. In fact, the support is being given is support that the previous governor never received in that, in that magnitude, in that nature. So there's all this goodwill. The goodwill that my good friend and my Mzee Manyora is talking about is there. The president is keen. He says Nairobi is part of his legacy. So we need to leave all these sideshows and focus on the actual work of delivering to Nairobi. Number one, operationalize Urban Areas and Cities Act. When you talk about Nairobi regeneration, involve the political leadership. The MPs, the MCAs cannot be reading about Nairobi regeneration on the newspapers and hearing about it on TV. They have ideas. They represent the people. We have ideas. Bring us all in. Let's sit together. Let's say, forget about the politics for the next 4 years. What can we all do in our different spaces? If there's help you need from the national government or the Senate, we're available. Let's do it. Nairobi can be fixed. Nairobi has actually run before. It's been working. Even when we had mayors, it's been working. And Sonko has the intention. I believe he has, because I campaigned for him. I campaigned with him. Yeah. He has the intention. It's too early to pass fatal judgment and say, oh no, he's incapable, let's impeach him. That will not work. And I want to assure you, even in the Senate, if that comes, we will not let it go.
That has come
it's just
from
9 months.
That has come from the deputy party. I think the deputy, not the deputy party, the deputy chair of Jubilee, Murade. You're saying you don't support that, and you will not support any impeachment calls against Mike Sonko?
No, I will not. We will not support any impeachment against Governor Sonko. Right? It's unfair. I mean, you don't have enough time, and you've not been able to see what is done. Kidero had 5 years, he was not able to do much. But we're saying we have an opportunity now, and that time is slowly ending. You know, it's not forever. We just have 4 years or 2-3 years. Let's give Sonko time, let's give him the support he needs. That impeachment business and all this other politics that's going on, we do not want to be part of it. Nairobians want drainage fixed, they want roads, operable, they want jobs for our young people, they're suffering. We want to deal with water, we want to make sure we deal with the issue of the North Collector Terminal. Is the quantity Nairobians desire available? If it's not, let's just deal with the issues. And we've seen over the past few weeks, Hussein, there's a move to bring in politics and such. It will not help us deliver. Allow us to just deliver, give the governor the support he needs, the county government. Let us play the oversight role we need to play to make sure the money that is being raised for Nairobians is working for Nairobians.
Are you concerned then, Honorable Sakaja, because you actually said you're in Jubilee, you campaigned for him. Are you concerned or disappointed with his service delivery so far? Sonko's service delivery?
Nairobians are concerned with what they see every day. I am also a Nairobian. We are concerned. And we feel that there is synergy that is missing that can be improved. The governor says that resources that is collecting are now more. A few weeks ago, actually a few days ago, I asked for an audit of the revenue collection in Nairobi, because you can increase the revenue collection. What concerns Nairobians is not even how much you're collecting. It's whether there's garbage outside the house, whether there are potholes. So we're concerned and we want to offer help. Now, if people who want to help you are then seen as political enemies, are then seen as people trying to, it can't work. So we're concerned. Even you said you live in Nairobi, you're concerned. But Nairobi can work. I think, because of the narrative, there's unfair judgment on Governor Sonko at this point. It's just been 9 months. He doesn't have his chief officers yet. He doesn't have his structures yet. It has taken too much time. He needs to put it together. Let's give him a team that can actually work, and let's judge him year by year on what he's been able to deliver to Nairobians. He has scored on revenue collection, that we must say, moving from 7 million to close to 50 and above. That is good. But then what are we using that revenue for? Let's see his budget estimates now. Let us do objective oversight, not just based on whims, based on reports that come from the Auditor General and from the County Assembly. But Nairobi can work, you say.
I'm just wondering, Sakaja, doesn't the failure, the failure or the slow start of the regeneration team not vindicate Sonko? Because it's a high-powered team. They gave themselves 30 days. At the end of the 30 days, they're coming up with excuses, requesting for like another 8 months to do things that some of them can take just one afternoon to get rid of the pickpockets in Nairobi, the beggars from Tanzania in Nairobi, to get rid of chaos that is occasioned by things about traffic. You could do things about to collect garbage. There are things you can do within a week, 2-3 weeks. But the fact that they have not done that would seem to vindicate Sonko.
First of all, these self-imposed deadlines don't work. No one gave you 30 days to solve this problem, or 1 week. When you announce that we'll do this in 20 days, and I've told the parties concerned, why do you impose yourself a deadline by which you'll be measured? The governor has 5 years, the president has 5 years. Do things meticulously, systematically, look at the systemic issues, and solve them once and for all. We don't want quick fixes.
But as a leader who promised, deliverables on the campaign trail, you say you're going to do something in 100 days and you don't do it. Now he says he's going to do them in a year. And again, looking at what he said earlier, first he talks about cartels fighting him. Then he says, for example, during Labor Day, he cannot, for example, build roads now because we need the weather is not good for that. We'll have to wait a bit. Then again, he says he blames the previous regime because, there are different reasons he's giving. So, and these are things that he promised to do. Why would you say, let's give him another 5 years? He is again, actually, you saw in that clip saying, last week in an interview with Jackie Marie, they're saying he wants 1 year again.
Yeah. We said, first of all, it is not us deciding how much time to give him. He's been given 5 years by Nairobians at the polls. That is the term of office that he has. We want to see incremental improvements. What I'm against is the self-imposed deadlines by the regeneration team that in 30 days we will solve the garbage. You will not solve it in 30 days. Deal with the systemic issue. You will not solve traffic in 30 days. The traffic issue needs us to build a mass transit system, light rail, rapid bus transit. We need to see the expression of interest out there. We need to see the designs that were done years ago by JICA. Implement those systematically. Don't fool anyone that you'll do it in a month or in a few days. But you see, the urge for quick wins and quick gains and low-hanging fruits, which actually are not existing, and trying to do 10 things at a go, don't work. In Nairobi, you can pick 3-4 things, focus on them, do them diligently, and let me tell you, in a short time, people will start seeing and reaping for the benefits. Painting a road red is just like Kidero putting his drums on roundabouts. It will not work. And that's what we're saying. Let's give him the time, but also let us give him the support he requires, and let him look for support from all of us. You know, we're available, we're here to help. We're also elected. And you know, people have been asking, Hussein, why is it that we're not hearing you talking about these issues, shouting about them? Because if we start making it a political battle on the streets and I start Sakaja rescue team and all of that, then he will definitely not be able to deliver because it will be political sideshows. Let us do it objectively on the floor of the House. I have asked questions about Nairobi revenue, money is owed to Nairobi. I've asked questions about resettlement of people and all of that. He can do it, but we don't need to put self-imposed deadlines. Let him come out with his plan clearly and share it.
This sideshows, finally, Sakaja, as you say, some of these murmurs have been coming from Sonko himself. In 2 or 3 occasions, he's let the cat out of the bag, if you may, when he says, nobody's going to take Nairobi from us. Nairobi won't go back to the national government. Maybe he knows what we don't know, but he has said that once or twice. And then again, I mean, when he keeps saying he's being fought by cartels in Nairobi, you actually saying tonight, Sakaja, it's a fact that last 5 years, Kidero was not supported as much as Sonko was supported. And now, looking at all that, the inference that it could be there is a lot of interest by the state in Nairobi County, and that is why Sonko could not be very comfortable.
You know, I can say it without any fear of contradiction. The interest of His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta is for Nairobi to work. He has told us that not once, not twice, numerous times. He has put down resources, he's put down his own human resources, his staff, to actually support the governor. Of course, you'll be fought when you're the governor of Nairobi. You know, there are a lot of interests, business interests, there are a lot of political interests, but you know, you need to have your blinders on and say, you know, despite all of these wins, let me just focus on delivering. And that's why it's a position that needs metal. You know, you need to be tougher still. You need to have an iron fist with velvet gloves to make sure that you actually deliver to these people. You know, so I don't think, you know, there are all these shadowy figures fighting him. And even if they are, you know, expose them, you know, tell us who it is and what they're doing, and we will support you to deliver. So you cannot blame the national government. The national government actually wants to support the governor. Maybe there might be individuals where the personal relationship is not working, and that is normal in human relations. Let us solve those amicably, let's reconcile those people who have issues. But at the end of the day, you know, we say, ndovu wawili wakipigana ni nyasi inaumia. It's the people of Nairobi suffering. Okay. They don't care about, you know, which PS or which individual. They care about services being delivered to them.
Dr. Alex.
But I think, Honorable Sakaja, there's something that we must acknowledge. Sonko was not the establishment choice for governor of Nairobi. All the smart money was on Peter Kenneth. And Sonko came in on kind of wave of populist politics. And again, some of the factional skirmishes within Jubilee itself at that time. And right now, I think that's what's at play again. And
you think that is why we're having all this?
And it's been made worse by the departure of Rigathi, whose job, when I spoke with him, basically he told me that he would be running the show and he'd be the executive of the county, so he would take care of the political issues. Now, that hasn't come as to fruition. So I think the worst nightmare for Jubilee Party, especially the establishment around Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, is that they're stuck with this guy. So what's now critical is how do they contain the potential damage and incapacity that obtains around Sonko's leadership. Because clearly, let's just be honest, Sonko is the least qualified person ever to hold office of such significance. He has no capability, he has no prior experience, he has no executive or even business management experience ever.
You think the 8 months are enough to judge Sonko?
It's not enough. It's not enough. Sonko will be there for 5 years. It's not going to change his capability trajectory.
The point is, I mean, there could be focus now on Nairobi County. Other counties are I think arguably are facing the same challenges, and we're not judging them.
But this is just much more
because of the
complex.
politics in Nairobi County.
This is just much more complex. One is temperamental issues around Sonko. Like you say, he is perhaps his worst enemy. He's blurting out all the time, saying things that he shouldn't say. He's crying wolf when he should be basically focusing. As Mr. Sakaja has said, he has not appointed all the executives that he needs to run his show. He's been spending a lot of time in Moore Hills. He's not in the office most of the time. And even when he started that first 100 days, he was out in the streets. Instead of thinking about the structural components of designing a government, he was out in the streets trying to collect garbage. Not in the boardroom, basically trying to figure out the architecture of government that would then deliver on the onerous responsibility that is required of a governor of Nairobi. This is a really complicated town. And Sonko basically just underestimated the enormity of the job that he took on.
Aman.
I do not subscribe to the view that one ought to have some background, education or experience.
Not education,
the world
just
is full of
in running
people.
something.
The world is full of people who came from nowhere and did wonders. Somebody was running for office of the president of the United States. Then he was asked for experience. He said, there is nobody who comes to the White House with experience. No, which is true. So I think Sonko can still deliver if he had what it takes to deliver. There is something education does somebody and experience, but still there are people who have shown, like I'm saying, they could do wonders. Kidero was educated. He has experience at NMG, at Mumias. There are people who have been mayor in Nairobi. They are among the 47 counties. Some of the people running them are highly educated individuals, high-ranking former executives in places and in the corporate world and the government. But they don't have much to show for it. So I really wouldn't want to bother so much about Sonko not having this or the other. I will only wish to repeat what I've said. First, for the regeneration team, it is proving that there's no point in blaming Sonko because it's a high-powered team. And my good friend, my son Sakaja says there are these things you can't do in 30 days. But look here, for example, we've installed traffic lights at a colossal sum of money. How long do you need to let the traffic lights work, to let traffic flow before we manage it later? You know, there are many big things we'll do, but even the small things we have, like removing those policemen from roundabouts, there are big things we should do. But so what I'm saying is, Sonko can deliver if he has what it takes to deliver, irrespective of his educational background and experience. But I must add, the problem with Nairobi is the same one we have with corruption. Unless you have the goodwill from the top, the kind of interest in Nairobi, there isn't a single person, however educated, however experienced, that, look, people have put up structures blocking water on river beds, blocking the flow of rivers. We see them, you and I. People have erected buildings on public space meant for schools. Look, can you demolish one of those because you are governor? Can you? You can't. So what I'm saying is, as a people, we will need to accept that we can no longer continue running Nairobi the way it is being run. Nairobi is not moving. People leave their houses at 4 in the morning to reach their places of work. They get back to the houses very late. So the whole day, the following day, they're actually sleeping and not working. We need to make Nairobi work, just as we need to make Kenya work. And the beginning point is to accept that we cannot move the way we are moving.
Alex doesn't seem to agree with you. Sakaja, I'll come to you shortly, but just pick up very quickly.
I agree with Prof. But that, you know, they say politics is the only job on earth for which you need no prior qualifications. That's true. But Sonko is not just in a political position. He's in a leadership position that requires him to articulate and execute a vision. In the months that he's been in office, I have not seen any vision. I have not seen an iota of leadership. What I have seen is backpassing, blaming, shouting, and just haranguing. He's just not been focused. Basically, Sonko has been all about people who are obstructing him and people who are out to undermine him. And as Mr. Sakaja said, let him name those people. The president is interested in making the county work, and is bringing some of the help that he thinks Sonko needs. He's got all the support. Why can't he rally his team and every institution in the city around the help that he's receiving to then get Nairobi to move?
In a move that shocked many, he then nominated Miguna as deputy governor, one of his fierce competitors while vying for governor's position. Haman, I mean, it's a move that some say is just a protest. It's a protest move, some say, what Sonko has done by trying to nominate Miguna. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, some people are saying, well, the Jubilee government and the government and some people, some he has mentioned, like you have said, are really making it difficult for him to work. They want to run the show. And the people are saying perhaps so that the cartels may continue working, that perhaps Sonko is standing in the way of those cartels, and they are using high officers in this land to ensure that Sonko doesn't deliver. They are also saying Sonko is being messed because of politics, a perceived ally of perhaps Ruto, and 2022 is at play. And like you rightly put it, people are saying he's trying to show them that I can also be stubborn by appointing somebody like Miguna. People even go further to say, well, if you think you can impeach me, let me bring Miguna around so that if you impeach me, let the devil himself deal with you. Well, there are all manner of things, but again, it'd be very difficult for one to believe that in his right senses, with the right counsel, he would make that kind of nomination.
Alex?
I think, as Mr. Sakaja himself said, that you can take it to the bank that Miguna will not be the deputy governor of Nairobi.
Let him tell us
why. But
what that underlines is the fact that Sonko is reading from a different script. He's been isolated by establishment mainstream Jubilee. He would not have made that decision without counsel or consultation. And as Mr. Sakaja himself has said, he has not been consulted by Sonko lately. And basically, Duale has also said that's not Miguna. It will take Miguna 4 months to be officially accepted as a member of the party. So it just basically strengthens the fact that Sonko has huge political problems within the Jubilee. And what we would like to know is what is the genesis of this tussle? Is it just the 40 billion that Nairobi controls? Or is it the realization that, oh my God, we ended up with the wrong guy in this job?
Honorable Sakaja, as an individual, let me not say an individual. I mean, as Jubilee, because you're a big stakeholder, the Jubilee Party in Nairobi, because it is Jubilee Party that will be judged ultimately if Nairobi fails or succeeds the county government, that is. Did he or should he have consulted the Jubilee team before deciding to nominate Miguna? And of course, that tweet, your famous tweet last week when you said, take it to the bank that Miguna will not be Nairobi deputy governor. And let's also look at what Miguna said, just to be fair to him, a right of reply. Miguna's tweet, of course, when this happened, he said, Mr. Sonko and I have not spoken, met or communicated since our gubernatorial debate in July 2017. I will not comment on malicious information, material or cheap propaganda circulating in the social media. Sakaja.
Let me answer both the questions. This one and earlier on, I didn't get a chance.
Yeah, please.
And I'm really shocked by Alex's school of thought about people who, the establishment that didn't want Sonko to be the governor, and they're trying to frustrate him now. You know, they must realize, and Alex must realize, you know, no matter what your misgivings might be about Mike Sonko, he's the governor. He's been elected by 800 and something thousand Nairobians to be the governor. He'll be the governor until 2022. Our focus should be how do we help him as the governor with all the executive responsibility bestowed upon him in as important a city as Nairobi, whether you think he's competent or not competent, no matter what your thinking is about him, how do we actually help him deliver? As simple as that. He's the governor, and those who think or those who might be in denial need to wake up and smell the coffee. Number two, yes, I did say that Miguna will not be the deputy governor. I even asked people to take it to the bank because, you know, and even following his tweet, one, I didn't think it is a sincere nomination. I cannot nominate you, Hussein, to be my deputy, and I've not spoken to you. And you're hearing about it from the media. And the person who you're claiming to have nominated himself says it's a malicious distraction. You know, Miguna has every right to be the governor, let alone the deputy governor of Nairobi. I believe he's a Kenyan, you know, and I believe your Kenyan citizenship can never be taken away from you. You can revoke it, but the constitution is clear that you can actually be regularized, and he just needs to regularize himself, come back. He can be the governor. I just believed that that nomination was not sincere. Now, if the governor feels very strongly,
sincere why? Sorry,
that,
why would you say it's
this
not
is the
sincere?
person? Because you can't nominate someone you've not spoken to. As clear as that. You know, you have to consult that person. Do you want the job? Are you available for the job? Do you have another job somewhere? Come. But if you have not even spoken to the person, that was not sincere, and that's why I said it, and I hold on that position. I believe he needs to come in. I've spoken about his issues in the Senate, on the floor of the Senate. I spoke about his human rights. I spoke about the fact that he needs to be given, to be respected, in as much as you may not agree with him politically. And Hussein, you know, I am one person who has gone across political divide to bring people together. But the point is this: if Sonko genuinely feels that Miguna is a person who, one, will help him fight cartels, who, number two, he feels that their characters are complementary and they can work well together, and that Miguna is a team player, and that Miguna will be able to respect him, and Miguna believes in his leadership, then all the best. You know, bring him to the county assembly, let him be passed, go through the appropriate channels, through the political party, and let him be your deputy, because all the executive power for now is with Sonko for the next 5 years. And if he insists on it, for instance, as a senator, I don't need to be consulted. He didn't consult me. He does not need to consult me. It's all about me. It's about Nairobi people. It's about him. So if he feels that's the person to help him, then it's his choice to make. It's the choice of the Nairobi County Assembly members to make. They have spoken about it. But what we want, I don't care who's the deputy. It can even be you. We want
you meaning Manyora, Alex Obi.
Drainage. It can be three of you. You can do it every 1.5 years. So long as we get services delivered. Let's leave this personality cults in Nairobi. Let's not talk about, oh, Sakaja wants this or this one wants this. It cannot be about that, Hussein. So he knows why he nominated Miguna without talking to Miguna. Miguna knows why he's spoken as he has spoken. Let us have a substantive deputy, and let us take issues of Nairobi with the seriousness they deserve. Let us not play politics in Nairobi. Nairobi is serious. Let's take it seriously.
Aman.
Well, you know, like Alex says, and it is coming out that if indeed that was not a serious nomination that's coming from Sakaja, top man in Jubilee, Senate of Nairobi, that kind of confirms what Alex is saying. There are things that are going on, that the top party leadership of Jubilee is not happy with Sonko. And this is a contempt card is kind of throwing their way. Because from Sakaja you can hear, it's not a serious nomination. There was no consultation. Miguna can't be deputy governor and all that. That means really there's something. And the sooner they fix this problem, the better. Because as a Kenyan, as a person who lives in Nairobi, I think they owe it to us to make Nairobi a better place to live. Those of us who are of our age, who are in this city when things were working. Granted, it was a small city then, but it means things can work. Anybody who has traveled will tell you there are bigger cities, much, much bigger than Nairobi, but things are working. We want Nairobi to work. If the small little politics within Jubilee will stop Nairobi from working, then we will have to tell them, please shut up, work, let Sonko work. If this regeneration team, as I doubt, look here, people are still pumping stuff into the river, into the rivers that are crossing Nairobi. You need a year to stop them from doing that. You don't. They are laws. NEMA has laws. So really, there is a lot at stake, but honestly, there is no will.
Okay.
There isn't will enough for things to work in Nairobi, and that's why I refuse to agree with anybody who reduces the problems of Nairobi to a Sonko who is incapable.
Okay. Alex, finally.
I think what is clear, as you said, Hussein, this is going to fall on the doorsteps of Jubilee. If this governor, if this county government does not deliver, we have only one big body corporate to blame, and that's the Jubilee government. Just like we have to blame ODM for the failures of Mr. Evans Kidero. And I think, as Sakaja said, my personal advice to Jubilee would be, let them go back to the drawing board, huddle together, and if they're determined and committed and politically willing to support Sonko to succeed, then they should do that. They should cut out all this civil war. You know, Sakaja and Mr. Muradi Duale must read from the same script, because so far they read from the same script. And Mr. Sakaja has very well pointed out that he works across political divides, and I think that's music to my ears. And how can we rally the goodwill of the people of Nairobi who are from all kinds of shades of parties? How do we come together to deliver for the city of Nairobi? If Nairobi fails, Kenya fundamentally fails. This is the first eyeball that anybody gets when they come into this country.
Right.
Let it be a good impression. Let it make a good account of us as citizens of this country.
Okay, I'll give Sakaja the final word then.
Thank you, Hussein. We have challenges. Let us not pass unfair or judgment that is premature on the governor. I think whatever issues that there may be between him and elements in the national government need to be sorted out. If we bring all the leadership together, the MPs, the MCAs, the senator, and the national government, and we just agree to focus on specific delivery points, the people of Nairobi will be happy. Let's remember, at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's not about individuals. It's not about our ambitions or our positions. It's about the ordinary mwananchi in Nairobi. And if we do that, I know for sure and for certain, and I can say this unequivocally, that Mike Mbuvi Sonko has a heart for the people of Nairobi. That one is undeniable. Let's give him the appropriate structure and support system to deal with that, and let's all play our roles. Let me do my oversight role. Let him govern, let MPs do their legislative work, let the MCs do their work. If everybody does their work, the architects of our constitution are not confused when they create all those positions, then Nairobi will thrive, and will return the lost glory of our city. It will be the green city shining under the sun.
And I think for that to work, Jubilee must give Sonko the space to work, and I advise Jubilee.
They must.
Yeah, give him space to work.
And maybe the senator should lead that charge.
Okay, this is something that we'll still be talking about in the coming days. But Honorable Sakaja, thank you so much for joining us live from Mombasa tonight. Political analyst Haman Manyora and public policy analyst Dr. Alex Awiti, thank you all for making time for us tonight. Again, we're asking you, what is the way forward for Nairobi County? We are back with a final look at your feedback after this break.